Hey everybody, it's Irene with BrainStormAcres, and we're home. So we got home yesterday, and we did the super critical things, bring in the suitcases, bring in the groceries, and then kind of crash on the sofa. We picked up our mail, that sort of thing. So today is the first day back in the saddle really here, and Henry has headed off to go get some supplies for his next big project. And I am going to be checking some of the basics around here. We have been very pleased so far with the temporary setup we did right before we left for the solar panels. They were last night and this morning completely charged. So we had a very hazy day yesterday, so that's a good sign. Now, granted, we haven't been here, so the only use for the solar panels has been pretty much running the water system for the garden, but that's still a hopeful situation. So the first thing I'm going to do this morning is zip up to the water tanks and check the water levels. I'm also going to close off one of the tanks. When we leave, we normally open up both the tanks, and that gives a larger water supply available for the garden. But now that we're home, we don't want to do that. We prefer to do one tank at a time. So off to the tanks. Now, while we were gone, we had somebody take care of the yard for us. And their job was to make sure that things got watered, and it worked beautifully. Now, our veggies over here in the bucket, some of them are looking quite chopped up. That's the rodents, and that has nothing to do with the wonderful people who took care of the garden for us. They did a great job of making sure the watering continued, and you could see it did. My plants are super happy. The flowers that I had planted, like the Sweet Williams, are really kicking in. The newer seedlings, some of them were moderately badly chewed before we left, actually, by rodents. The big thing is they need fertilizer, and that's going to be one of my projects today. So onward and up the hill. And a lot of this messiness here, that'll clean up with a couple of snips from a weed cutter. So it's really low on my things to worry about. You can hear that the fans are running in the greenhouse, even though I have them up quite high. They're not supposed to go off until it gets to be like 110 in there. It's just a bit warm. This whole coming week is going to be too warm for comfort. So I brought a tripod with me so that I could set this down while I climb up the stairs and check the water levels. This is one of those little things that people who live in town who have unlimited water just don't think about, is you need to pay attention. And a lot of people, when they move out there here, get in serious trouble because it's just not on their radar to pay attention. Okay, I just checked the water level in the tanks. They both have 1,200 gallons in them. So I've shut the south tank, which is number 2, and we're just going to run off the north tank, and that way when they come to fill us the next time, the north tank will be pretty much empty. So what needs to happen next? Well, I'm going to take a quick peek in the greenhouse. The greenhouse is empty. There should be some dead spinach in there, and that's about it. I will need to refill the barrels of water, but other than that, that's not a super high priority this morning. And here we go, empty greenhouse. Yep. Definitely an empty greenhouse. It looks strange after so many months of having it be very full. But at the bottom, this, see, this was starting to bolt, so we just decided to let it go and not try and keep it alive. This is set for 110. Drop it to 100. All the stuff in here is shut off. There's nothing alive in here. The fan up here is also turned to very hot. So it only goes off when it gets very hot. We just try to keep it from getting so hot that it melts the plastics in there. We've had that happen before. They don't mention that to you sometimes when they're talking about things. All right, let's see. So that's done. So I know that I have a whole 2,400 gallons of water. The irrigation will be running soon in the garden. Jack's probably asleep already. He went back in the house to take another nap. Because he almost never lays down when we travel. He decided it was a great idea to walk all the way to California and back. So I have a bunch of things that need to be clipped in here. I'm going to harvest some of it for a friend, and what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be deciding which of these are no longer worth keeping. I would love to just continue growing brassica all summer, but I know that's not going to work. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to transform these into probably let's see, probably some sweet potatoes, maybe some potatoes, that sort of thing. And I'll have to decide which other ones I'm going to reject later today. Check out all this columbine here has just bloomed like crazy this spring, and it's now setting 1 million seed pods. So I'm kind of hoping that this is going to take over the world over time. I'd be really good with that. It's pretty. The other one wasn't as happy, but Jack peas on this one, and the uric acid is actually making this plant pretty happy. So yeah. You can see the rodents have had an excellent time while we were gone, but our friends who took care of it actually did get some broccoli out of the deal, and I'm going to just sort of decide which things keep getting taken care of and which don't. There's a lizard. Hi, lizard. Are you happy down there? I hope so. We want you to eat as many bugs as you possibly can. I need to trim off the top of the calendulas, so I'll sort of deadhead that. The peppers plants have come up nicely and are doing well. They're right over here. The broccoli are still alive and producing broccolis. I mean broccolis. Brussels sprouts. The Brussels sprouts are still alive and are producing Brussels. The broccoli back there, you know, I think it's just getting to be too warm for them. So on the other hand, the carrots that they were fairly young and not particularly impressive before we left are doing great. Something's going on with the ground cherry and radishes, and I'll need to figure that out a little bit later. But I think it's a good start. It's we got lots to do. As you can see, the flowers are doing beautifully, and these guys in here simply need fertilizer. They haven't really grown, but around the edges here, there's some babies that were put in there. A bunch of them were chomped. It's very obvious that the mice had a wonderful time while we were gone. There's nothing much you can do about that, so it is what it is. What's left should grow up well once I hit it with some fertilizer. So our sage is very happy with itself. So my watering for that has done well. Check it out. That is beautiful. Just beautiful. And usually early, let's see, do we have any bugs on there? Yeah, we have some, there's a few honeybees on there this morning who look very happy, and that's cool. We want them to be happy, and we want them to keep coming back. I pulled in the hummingbird feeder yesterday because it had dried out, which I expected. I filled it up really well before I left, but it dried. And I have soaked it overnight. It still needs a little bit more scrubbing, and then it will go back out. The asparagus have now been left to go to fern, and they need to build up their reserves. Somebody's been chewing on them, so that'll be another thing to figure out, is who's been chewing on the asparagus, because it's important that they produce ferns so that they can pump energy back into the roots. So yeah, we'll have to figure out who did that and try and eliminate them, because yeah, you don't get to eat my asparagus, even if it's just the ferns. So yeah, so that's where we are this morning. It's warm already. It says it's only 70, but it doesn't feel 70. My guess is it's 70 in the national forest and a lot hotter here. So I'm going to get to work. I have to do a laundry festival, which is a traditional celebration that always occurs when we come back from an event, where all the bedding, the clothes, everything has to be washed, plus anything that we used on the road, and the few things that we left right before we left home. So for now, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because obviously we have a ton going on. I will show you later. I have seedlings that I stashed in the dining room, having transplanted them like the day before we left. And I am very pleased to say most of them made it just fine, which is what I was hoping for. So yeah, there's a lot going on. So until next time, bye. And keep brainstorming, because obviously we are.